It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Now, you can get a hold of me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting if you reach out to me through my email, oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon, the Opperman Report Patreon. Everything you hear Monday to Friday on AM/FM radio, you could find over at Patreon, early and ad-free with the commercials cut out and the ads cut out and early, plus a lot of free stuff, too. It's worth it just to go to Patreon and sign up for free and get that notification of the shows that come up, and also to with the free stuff. We put up a lot of free documents up there all the time. Otherwise, every Friday night Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you get 3 hours of brand new podcast content, 1 hour solo, and then 2 hours of exclusive, usually new and exclusive kind of stuff, man, about the podcast, 2 podcast interviews. And today's a perfect example. We have a fellow named Jeremy Ryan, who's sitting right now in pretrial detention, some kind of federal detention, on some ridiculous charges, but I don't even know how to describe them. I guess you could call them stalking type charges, but it's all free speech. The guy's a news reporter, and he's been reporting on some people that we report on quite often. And this is the kind of consequences that people have when you're talking about these topics. In reality, when you're really working the stuff and you're doing this stuff, you see a lot of people on YouTube and Twitter saying, "Oh, I'm not suicidal, and I'm going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein." But there are consequences for dealing with these kind of things, and this is a real guy in real life who's suffering real consequences, and we're here to support him. Now, you can check out Jeremy Ryan on some of his links. If you go to his, first of all, his Twitter, which is it's called Cunning Linguist, Cunning One Linguist, NFT Demon Cunning Linguist. You can go there and you'll find his link tree on there. Or if you go to his, what's that thing called? Instagram, it's NFT Demon 420. And that also has his different social media, Facebook and all the different places where you could find him and follow his stuff. He needs as many people following him and drawing attention to his cause as we can. Mr. Jeremy Ryan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, man, thank you so much. Before we get into all your illegal adventures, okay, who is Jeremy Ryan? If we just met in a bar, at a soccer game, online at the movies, who is Jeremy Ryan?
Yeah, so I grew up mostly homeless as a kid, so a lot of my childhood was on the streets, fending for myself. And when I graduated from high school, I started doing cell phones. I started selling cell phones overseas. And I was wholesaling cell phones over in the UAE. And then it was when that ended, because there was a period of time for a little while where cell phones like smartphones, if you bought them in the U.S., the price was cheaper, even if you were a carrier, than if you bought them overseas. So I would serve as a median, have it shipped to an import-export company. But that's only because the U.S. market at that time was so large and other markets weren't very large. Obviously, that gap closed. So there was no longer a need for what I was doing. And the gap closed pretty quickly right around 2011. And I was living in Madison, Wisconsin at the time. And it was a Valentine's Day of 2011. And I was riding my Segway, a little two-wheeled Segway, around the Capitol Square. And I ran into a group of people with a bunch of heart-shaped balloons. And I was like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "We're going to go deliver these to the governor because he's trying to end collective bargaining for unions." And so I said, well, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But I'm like, okay, well, sounds like fun. Let's join them. So I joined them. We ended up going in. They ended up releasing the balloons in the Capitol Rotunda and then giving Valentine's Day cards to the governor. And then they started explaining, a little bit more of what's going on. And what was actually happening at the time was they were trying to push through this bill in 3 days with like 3,000 pages that nobody knew. And I didn't think that was a good use of the democratic process. And so they said, "We're coming back tomorrow." So, because there was a public hearing the next day. And they said, "We're going to try to keep the public hearing going for days. We're going to try to get as many people as we can so that each person goes and goes and goes, and it goes nonstop for days." And so I come back the next day, and there's 20,000 people outside the Capitol. And people are starting to move mattresses and tents into the Capitol for what would be literally days worth of public testimony. People just cycled through and started doing the testimony. Then the senators had left the state, so there wouldn't be a quorum to vote on the bill. And that's when the police were trying to kick people out. And I said, wait a second, why don't we just stay? Why don't we actually just stay here in the Capitol and take it over? So that's what we did. A group of about 80 of us, they had locked the doors so no one else could come in, and which was against the Wisconsin state constitution, as the judge would later rule. But we held the building down for about 8 days, I think, and just had occupied the Capitol. And that was what had inspired Occupy Wall Street. So when Occupy Wall Street started up, I was the head of the civil disobedience in Wisconsin. I was the one running all the civil disobedience. And so when Occupy Wall Street came up, I was recruited to help start that up and help with the civil disobedience for that, because there weren't many people that had experience in that. Because the last time that it was really used as a tactic before then was the Vietnam War days. So, there wasn't a whole lot of experience. So then I go there, then I start kind of going around the country helping them set up these Occupy encampments. This was back when it was a very independent movement. Actually, both sides kind of supported it for a little while, and then it got co-opted by the party. Yeah, so I ended up doing that.
Well, but let me pause you there for a second. Got co-opted by what party? How do you feel about Occupy? It was infiltrated toward the end. Obviously,
it got co-opted by the Democratic Party, really.
Yeah.
And because it started as mostly actually libertarians in Occupy Wall Street. It was mainly, the first days, it was mainly libertarians, which, are kind of they're kind of a mixed breed. I don't even know themselves. There's like 100 different types of libertarians.
Yeah.
But it didn't. But it didn't start under a party. And then the party took it over, and that's when it started losing its steam, as such things tend to happen. That definitely put a target on my back. I guess, as far as the government goes. And then after that, there wasn't really a whole lot going on. After the Occupy movement had died down, there wasn't really a whole lot going on. So I went and started working at a cell phone store, and then I ran my own window tinting business. And then Mike Brown was shot over in Ferguson.
Yeah.
And so everything reignited again. And there was actually something, so I had been very closely affiliated with the Anonymous Collective, and very publicly, and very publicly, so there's no secret. And I was like their main bridge between the people who were anonymous and the ground in Wisconsin back when, and that was one of their main defining first movements when they started doing activism. And so what happened in the beginning, some people may remember this, some people may not, is that an anonymous linked Twitter account had said that they had the name, because Ferguson didn't actually start because of anything that had to do with the shooting. It started because the police refused to give the name of the cop to the family. That's what started it. And so everyone was trying to figure out what the name was, because his family wanted the name, and the police weren't giving up the name of who killed their kid. And so someone claimed that they had the name, posted it on one of the official anonymous channels, and it was actually a city sanitation worker. The dude wasn't even a cop.
All right.
So that made things look pretty bad. And so Anonymous, on all the other channels, the organization had said, we're not going to dox anybody or post any doxing information for at least another week while we clean up house and figure out how this happened and, what we can do so it doesn't happen again. 3 days into that, they get the 3 phone numbers to to the White House Situation Room. And these are directly in the White House Situation Room. There are phone numbers that are paid. These people aren't paid to deal with people like you and I. And their numbers for foreign dignitaries to call in. So they're too important to really change or disconnect. And so my main Facebook was actually suspended at the time. So under my dog's Facebook, I created a Facebook event and told people to call in and, let them know how you feel about Ferguson. And that started probably about a 5-day period where Homeland Security was trying to convince me to take them down. And I said, no, it's my legal right to keep them posted. And then at the end of the 5 days, they go quiet for a day. And then the next day I go to buy cigarettes and my card declines.
Oh, no.
I go back home. Yeah, I go back home. Yeah, and I'm informed by my bank that Homeland Security has put a freeze on my bank account. But that wasn't the only money I had. So in the style that I tend to use, I was like, okay, well, I'll show you guys. So I got a limo from Madison to Chicago, went VIP to a Snoop Dogg concert, went on a private yacht party with Talib Kweli and Pretty Lights, just totally doing it out to show the government this is something.
And wait, and you were able to get invites because they knew you already, or you were able to use this to leverage your way into these circles?
No, I just bought the ticket.
Oh, okay.
I think it's stuff. But I just wanted to have a crazy weekend to show them that they didn't tamper all of my funds. They weren't able to take as much from me as they thought they would. And at the yacht party, I meet a lady, and she ends up coming back to Wisconsin with me. And then we end up getting a townhouse. And then she ends up creating an instance where she's pretending like she's getting beat while she's on the phone with the police. The problem was that there was a witness, and she didn't know there was a witness on the other side of the door.
Oh, wait, so she was inserted into your life to screw with you and set you up?
Yeah. So it gets crazy. It gets crazier, actually. Yeah. So there's the witness. The cops, though, because they don't like me, because, we've gone back and forth for all these years, they arrested me for disorderly conduct. And then took me to jail. It was a $150 bail. I bailed myself out right away, but I couldn't go back to the house for 3 days, for 72 hours.
Yeah.
But I did get one of my friends had one of the bottles of alcohol, and the anonymous people, because they were the people who I had gotten the numbers from, were like, this just seems too fishy that all of a sudden after you release those numbers, you meet this lady, and now this thing's going on that looks like they were trying to make it something bigger than they were able to. So they said, you need to get a 12-panel drug test. So I get a 12-panel drug test positive for barbiturates. And then we test the alcohol, and the alcohol tests positive for barbiturates. And then so at that point, we will start looking into her background. Well, her ex-husband is a CIA contractor.
Wow.
And so this all points to this was supposed to be a more successful setup than it was. But all they got is disorderly conduct. Either way, I ended up losing the house because I wasn't going to pay rent for a place I couldn't stay in, and she didn't have any form of income. And so then I just
or income she could show. It's CIA funding doesn't show up on a credit report.
Yeah. So then I just kept going. I ran for Congress twice.
Oh, really?
First time I ran in 2014. I ran against Paul Ryan, and my last name's Ryan. And I had realized that all of his yard signs said Ryan for Congress.
Ooh.
So all I had to do was get on the primary ballot, and I didn't do any campaigning whatsoever. I just got on the ballot, and he had to spend $2.5 million to change all of his yard signs, all of his bumper stickers that he's had for 2 decades, to Paul Ryan for Congress, because now Ryan for Congress is also advertising me. And so that was just a troll campaign. And then 2018, I decided to do a troll campaign again. But this time I decided I'm actually going to go out and I'm going to campaign. I'm going to go to events and whatnot. So I go to the debates, and I make some campaign videos that are very eccentric. Some where I'm drunk and some where I'm doing all sorts of weird things. But I have a fun time with it, and people actually looked at it as this guy's actually genuine. So Paul Ryan got out of the race in the 2018 one, and it was a 5-way primary, and I got 16% of the Republican vote in a 5-way primary. Just running a crazy campaign and spending only $600 in a district I didn't even live in. But that created another problem because in October of that year, I went into remission from brain cancer.
Okay.
I had brain cancer for 4 years, and it had spread from the knee to the lung to the brain. I had a 0% chance of survival by traditional odds. I got in a research study that ended up sending it into remission, but I went into remission, and that caused a really deep sort of depression because my whole life I had been waiting. I wasn't planning for a reality in which I'd be there for a long time.
I got you, man. Because the same thing, I just had a heart thing just recently myself, and I went a good 1.5, 2 years contemplating death, contemplating the afterlife, my mortality. It's really, you spend a lot. It's a big change of your life. You spend a lot of time thinking about this, but now you're still on some kind of equipment, right? You're still on life. Describe what do you want now? You're still on stuff, right?
Well, yeah, now I have a heart condition, so I have an implanted defibrillator and pacemaker. I've got obstructive lung disease, so I can't use too much physical activity.
Yeah.
I get spinal fusion, so my whole spine is basically held together by screws and rods. Well, by now it's probably fused to one big bone instead of vertebrae. I've had a lot of health issues, but the cancer has been gone for 8 years. I'm still getting yearly checkups.
Thank God for that, man.
Yeah, but that was when I was approached at the bar with with
the guy's dying. He's still at the bar, but go ahead.
Yeah. So when the cancer had gone into remission, it was pretty clear that I was in depression from the government standpoint. And so they had, so I go to the bar and someone talks to me about this poison. And it's completely safe unless ingested or inhaled. And the end stages look like cancer, like you died from cancer. And so I, was having a mental health crisis. So I go and try to buy it because it's something that's not going to risk any harm to anybody else. And it will look like I had gone naturally because people didn't really know that I had gone into remission. And it turns out that the guy at the bar was FBI. And what he was selling me was a poison, but it was a radioactive poison.
Oh, boy.
And so the FBI arrests me and tries to charge me with nuclear terrorism. And I do 16 months in pretrial detention at the jail because I wasn't going to take a terrorism charge. 3 months in, they offered me a terrorism charge and time served because they knew it wasn't anything bad. And they made the argument that even though it was for myself, that the statute says that if you intend to cause death or serious bodily injury, they said the statute doesn't say towards anybody else. So they said it still counted in that situation as nuclear terrorism. Even if there was no way anyone else could have gotten hurt, it still counted. And the judge, unfortunately, did buy it. And actually, 10 months in, I took a plea just to back out of it so that they would stop calling me a terrorist on the news. And it worked. And there was a big, because once you take the plea, there's a big story. The media gets all over it. But by the time you back out, the media has already covered that they offered you time served. And so, but then I did another 6 months, came out from that. And that was when there was I think that was when George Floyd was going on. And I ended up doxing the sheriff because of his use of solitary confinement. It was kind of a separate action from the protest. And so I ended up doing 3 months on that. And then once I got out from there, I just left Wisconsin. I went to Portland because Portland is where things seemed to be happening.
A little safer, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And my first day in Portland, I actually got body slammed off the Segway by ICE. And there's a video of that online. But yeah, so I go to Portland for about a year, and then I start getting into cryptocurrencies quite a bit. And then I realized I have an ability to do art. So the brain cancer and the radiation had created new pathways called neuroplasticity. And people, it's not super common, but it's not super uncommon either, can end up having abilities that they didn't have before due to trauma to the brain. For me, I was able to do art. I was never good at art before that.
I just think you could have been Spider-Man, right? But you could have been, you might have turned into Spider-Man or something. No, but instead you had this talent with art, which is still great. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that was right when the NFTs were taking off.
Okay.
So I became one of the biggest NFT artists in the world.
Okay.
And, I had a bunch of NFTs that different celebrities like Eminem and Rick Ross and all different people had bought. And, there's a bunch of news press around that. And the NFT market then died down. But I had started to do some journalism there, too, because I realized in the crypto industry, one of the biggest things that was holding us back was the scammers.
Yeah.
And so I started doing journalism around different scammers, started figuring out who some of these people were, writing about them on my blog site, patrolcrypto.com. And then I just started doing that. And then also simultaneously, celebrities started coming to me because they needed somebody in blockchain. They wanted to try to see how to make money off the blockchain. They wanted to see different ideas. And some Fortune 500 companies started coming to me, too, for custom blockchain solutions. So I was doing consulting mainly. So my primary thing was just consulting with all different people on high levels of how to utilize blockchain and emerging technologies to fulfill a goal, basically. And that brought me to where I am now, basically. So I just kept doing that, and then it ended up here.
Okay. Now, usually in the beginning of the show, when I'm describing my Patreon, because just recently I was with the Yippies in New York City. I was in the cell phone business too, by the way. Okay, we got a lot in common there, my friend. And I was with the Yippies back in the 70s and the very early 80s. And so A.J. Weberman, who's, with the Yippies, just released all the Freedom of Information Act reports, FBI files on the Yippies up until 77, 78, 79 when I was with the Yippies. So normally I would mention that. And here we are. We got this. I just kind of left it out today. I didn't mention it, But, and then here you are pretty much involved in all the same kind of stuff that I was. So I find it very interesting. But people need to know that there is a lot of COINTELPRO type infiltration into these groups. And it's all there in those documents. You can read the documents right there and see. I'm not talking out of my ass here. It's right there in the actual FBI documents how much surveillance and infiltration there is in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and I mean they say that they stopped these programs like COINTELPRO and MK Ultra, but I don't think anybody actually believes that they were stopped.
No, if anything, it seems to me that they have more. Now they have so much information on us from social media and from our phones and stuff like that. We're under more surveillance now than we ever been. Yeah. So now you mentioned now this. By the way, before we get to that, do you have like an organization behind you that supports all this work you're doing, or you're just totally freelancing out there all by yourself?
No, I'm just freelancing.
Okay.
I just kind of do it on my own.
Gotcha. Okay, brave man. Okay, and I really enjoy, appreciate what you're describing to us here, and I'd love to have you back even more to support your causes here. And now, you describe where you are now? Because right now you're sitting in some kind of a halfway house pretrial detention, right?
Yeah, this is a core civic private detention center. It's not like a jail or a prison. It's more like a halfway house. You can leave, but only with passes, and I can only leave for medical. I also got the GPS bracelet, so I'm also on home confinement.
Right.
But yeah, I'm only here because I had lost my housing due to the current case that I'm fighting right now. So as soon as I can find stable housing, then I can actually get out of here.
First they make you broke. They make you broke. And then they say, well, you got no money. So we have to keep you in confinement, right?
And then they put you on conditions where you can't make any money. They go, you can't leave except for medical, and your phone's got to be monitored. So guess what? You can't sign an NDA with anybody.
Yeah.
Because your phone's being monitored. For like consulting and stuff, the basics are signing an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Well, I can't do that if the federal government's watching everything on my phone.
Yeah.
Because that would be unethical. And I would be breaking the NDA because they'd be watching everything.
If there's somebody out there who's sympathetic, who's listening to you right now that says, hey, man, I'll give this guy a job. I'll give him a job right now. Would you want to just take some bullshit job just to get out and not sit in there?
I don't think I even could.
Okay.
Just because a lot of my physical limitations,
right.
A lot of my limitations from different things. There's only a certain number of jobs that I can do.
Yeah.
But if someone needed a consultant for emerging technologies, I am very well versed in AI, blockchain, quantum computing, robotics. I've been doing all that stuff. That's what my main consulting has been.
I know when you were talking about the stuff in Wisconsin, I says, here's a guy who's advancing the democratic process. I mean, we're going to put this guy in jail? It just makes no sense. He's democracy,
Well, it's about control. The thing is, I was a person that neither side could control.
Yep.
And that's what it was. And the real honest truth that a lot of people don't realize is whatever party you support, they would rather have the other party win than have somebody win that they can't control on their side.
Absolutely.
And that's the inconvenient truth. And that's why we are where we are right now. It's a big reason why we are where we are right now. And I don't like either party personally. But
they're both capitalists, man. The Republicans and Democrats are both capitalists. They're on the same freaking team, But let's not get too far afield. My old socialist anger come up to the surface here. Okay, so what are the charges, man? What are they keeping this evil Jeremy Ryan behind bars for? What crime did you commit?
Well, at the base of it, the crime that I committed was saying mean things and exposing Epstein's network.
Ah.
So I started, obviously I was doing journalism. I had my journalist outlet. And there was an individual who was running a very large crypto scam that I came into. And so I approached them and through text message, and they ended up saying that they were going to try to make it right, pretending like they were a good guy, and they didn't realize that it was a scam and didn't realize all of that. And then they set up a group chat with the president of the company that they work with, so they're subordinate. And in that group chat, the guy's just hedging. He's not giving any answers. He's not trying to help at all with trying to straighten out the scam, which is contrary to what his boss said. And I didn't know much about either of these two people at that point. And so I get upset, and I don't actually make any actual threats that are in the complaint. There's threats in the complaint. It's just saying things like, I'll haunt you in your dreams, or you're going to regret this, or it's going to be awkward family reunion when your family finds out the stuff you're doing, stuff like that. And so the government then twists that into a cyber stalking case by also morphing my journalism into it. So the federal cyber stalking statute requires a course of conduct. And in order to fit that course of conduct, they actually had to include my journalism as part of the crime, which is one of the ways they can even win the case. But also, it's a crime where you have to cause severe emotional distress. And the victim in the case didn't call the police. He didn't file a restraining order. And he didn't do anything for 2 months after he got out of the conversation. And then all of a sudden, I find a connection in the first batch of Epstein files, the House Oversight ones in November, find a connection with his boss and Epstein, where Epstein and Bannon are talking about money laundering. And the media never picked this up because they didn't realize that there's only one person with the guy's first name, that connects Bannon, Epstein, and crypto. But I connected that. So I write that article, and the same day I write the article, the employee, the guy who hasn't had any contact, hasn't done anything, never went to the police, never filed a restraining order for 2 months, has a criminal defense attorney call the U.S. Attorney's Office and say he's afraid for his life. He's like, I'm afraid for my life because this guy said all these mean things. And the U.S. Attorney's Office is staffed by Gregory Kehoe, who is hand-appointed by Pam Bondi in July of 2025.
Let me see if I understand so far. You're in one group chat with these people, and basically you say, hey, I don't like your answers, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
Roughly.
I mean, I swear at them a lot. I use a lot of profanity and stuff, but no actual threat.
But this, you use profanity. It wasn't in church or anything, was it? It wasn't in church? Or a library. Yeah. Was this in a librry? Okay.
No, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, listen. We have soap for that. We have soap to wash your mouth out with profanity. We don't need federal prisons for that. And so the complainant in this case, he lived in a different state than you. And what state were you in, and what state were they in?
I was in San Diego, California the whole time, and the victim was in Florida, and the witness was in Puerto Rico.
Ooh.
But I was in San Diego.
And from that basis of that conversation over the internet, they were able to get you charged, federally charged. You know what a huge hurdle that is to get that to happen? You have any? I got a death threat today. Okay, today. All right, that I haven't even reported. All right, you know how hard it is to get some kind of without having huge pull and being able to call like the chief of police and then the state attorney general, and all that kind of stuff. You know how hard that is. Yeah,
and it just goes to show how motivated the current administration is to keeping these Epstein files out of public conversation.
Well, but in that offending communication there, the initial one, which is some type of a chat room, what were you accusing them of? Were you attaching them to Epstein in that conversation, or just money laundering type stuff?
Yeah, it was a $334 million scam where they had taken money from investors, $334 million worth, and put it into a token that was entirely useless. And that only had $10 million of liquidity pool on it. So only $10 million could be sold. And they knew that. And so that was what I was investigating. And then in November or early December, I find that Epstein file. And that's when I start to realize, wait, there's an Epstein connection here. And so I put that out in an article. And that's the day that they call the U.S. Attorney's Office. And that's the day that the U.S. Attorney's Office, per the criminal complaint, first call or their lawyer first called the U.S. Attorney's Office. It was the day that I exposed the Epstein connection. But the interesting part is the next article is the day, which was 11 days later, is the exact day that they submit that complaint to the court. And then then the other event, the raid on my house, was 3 days after my next article. So every single event in this case coincides with an article. And
yeah, like they're saying, hey, we got to shut this guy up. We got to shut this guy down. Quick, go back in. Right? They're putting pressure on the officials. Say, look what he just did. Shut him down. And then there's action taken to shut down good old Jeremy Ryan here.
Yeah, and it's 44 days in between when they first call and when I'm actually arrested. Now, if this was truly a real threat case and they really took it as a serious threat case, they wouldn't spend 44 days in between those two events, because that would be a danger. Like if you think someone's in danger, then you move that along quickly. You don't spend 44 days saying, oh, this guy's a threat to these people, and we're just going to take our time. And
well, as a devil's advocate, though, did any conversation come up saying, hey, I'll shut down your computers, or I'll hack into your life, and I'll do something? Any kind of tactics like that? Any kind of language?
No. Although there was one part of the complaint where the government says that I said, you're going to die a screaming expletive. And the actual text message from the discovery says scamming. Now, the big difference there's a massive difference. Because when you say you're going to die of screaming something, then it means, that's pretty physical.
Yeah.
Scamming is reputational.
Right.
But the government literally changed the two words. And you can see that from the discovery, the difference between the discovery and the actual complaint. And so the most threatening statement in the entire complaint was a word substitution.
Wow.
Something I never even said. And so, but then they're using all these vague things, like, I'll haunt you in your dreams, remember my face, stuff like that. And they're saying that those were big threats. Now, I mean, if this was like a disorderly conduct ticket, okay, maybe there would be some ground. But they're making a whole cyber stalking Fed case off of what they're calling veiled threats.
Yeah. I know, but things are said 100 worse times on the subway every day in every city in every country without a single arrest, and here we have, and it, to great expense too. They're keeping this guy in housing and stuff. What are the actual charges? What are the actual charges against you right now? What are they called?
It's one count of cyber stalking, 18 USC 2261 A2, I believe, and it's titled cyber stalking.
Gotcha. And what are the possible potential penalties for you?
Well, the maximum is 5 years, and so it's actually for a federal crime. That's as low as it goes for federal felonies is 5 years. Yeah. So it's on the bottom end of federal crimes as far as what the maximum is. But yeah, I mean there's no way they're ever going to get a prosecution out of it. What they're really trying to do, or what they really wanted to do, and they succeeded, was to not have me be able to go too far, because I got arrested right before they released that extra set of files in January, the massive set.
The ETA, yeah. And
in that massive set, the witness, the person referred to as witness one, the one that had written the article about doing money laundering for Epstein, there's 1,800 plus emails between him and Epstein in that new batch. And that's what they were trying to muzzle me from, was getting a hold of that batch. And in there's emails where he's saying he's enjoying Epstein's girls, and there's emails where he's sending Epstein girls. One of them, a 12-year-old girl. And I'm trying to get Congress to redact her name so I can get that file out there. Because he sends her, a 12-year-old girl in New York City.
Hey, what about that? And your defense attorney can't subpoena that name?
Well, the problem is, ethically, like, we don't know where she's at with her trauma or anything like that. So we can't bring too much attention to it until the name is redacted. And like, my attorney can't get the DOJ to redact the name. And a whole bunch of members of Congress have read my emails about it, and they're not interested in doing it either. So for now, I just have to kind of sit on that, and hopefully there's somebody in the next batch of Congress, or else hopefully maybe some people listening to this or something could pressure their congressperson to try to redact the name.
Or even the young lady herself can come forward if she's aware of this show and the work we've done. I did the first radio show on Jeffrey Epstein back in 2013. Nobody even knew the name. So the people in these circles, they all know who I am. Now, yeah. but witness one and victim one, you're not allowed to say their names because now there's new limitations on your freedom, and you can't say their names.
Correct. Yeah, and I was also further gagged when I was searching for connections between the judges and Epstein. That kind of that made the judges scared, and so the judges. Or the magistrate judge restricted me from doing that. So there's a whole bunch of restrictions on the Epstein files, and there's some vague restrictions that may or may not apply to it. Either way, I'm effectively muzzled for most of the Epstein file stuff, for the time being, at least.
And it's extremely unusual for a defendant in a case not to be allowed to come on the radio and say what the name of their accusers are.
Yeah, that is extraordinary. Yeah. Everything about this case is unusual.
I don't think I've run across it before. You know,
it points to weaponization of the government to still try to protect Epstein's network. I mean, if you need any proof that they're still protecting Epstein's networks, look no further than this case.
Yeah, I'm doing a solo show about Kirkland Ellis, which is one of Epstein's law firms, and Bill Barr was in there, Alex Acosta was in there, Kavanaugh was all attorneys there, you know, in Kirkland Ellis. Ken Starr was an attorney from Kirkland, and this is Epstein's law firm. Okay. By the way, their other clients are like Shell Oil Company. They're not representing many sex trafficking cases, individuals, all giant companies. And by the way, they pledged to Trump to do $125 million pro bono work for pro-Trump causes in Trump's second administration. Good old Kirkland Ellis. You might well call it Kirkland Ellis and Trump. They're going to call it. They're going to change it too. But you're not allowed to mention these names. And I'm going to mention them at the end of the show. And I'm going to tell you even before the show who witness one is and victim one is. But witness one has been mentioned in these files some 3,000 times.
I think it's 1,800 plus times, something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the top 1 or 2% of all people in the files as far as number of actual emails back and forth. A lot of the files that this individual is in, it's not background stuff, because you have some people where the file is just like a list or a news article or something like that. But that's not the case with this individual. These are personal emails. In one, he even says, "I love you" to Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. In one of these emails, he actually says, "I love you" to Jeffrey Epstein. In multiple ones, he's talking about enjoying Epstein's girls and enjoying Ukraine. There's something going on with Ukraine and Epstein, something major, because the Ukraine just keeps coming up. The further you look into the files, the more and more Ukraine comes up. And I don't know what it is quite yet.
Well, I know that right now there's a lot of child porn coming out of Ukraine because the soldiers are running around Ukraine. They can do whatever they want, door to door and stuff, So there's a lot of child porn coming out of Ukraine right now. I had another guest talk about that with some of the mercenaries that are running around Ukraine. But back to these, victim one is a name I've mentioned on this show many, many times for years. For different topics. We had Mark Ebner come on the show years ago, that long ago, and that name came up. And also, too, in connection with Zampoli and running crypto. I mentioned that we had a guest on our show here who sent me a text message who said that this fellow here helped Melania. Him and Zampoli got Melania into crypto. In your research, do you know what do you know about Zampoli and that stuff, and Melania?
I know that there's a whole lot of rug pulls and stuff going on in that sort of, like the Trump token, the Melania token. There were a whole bunch of Barron tokens that he said he was never behind, but I doubt it. Eric Adams is also connected to that whole crew.
Right.
He had his big rug pull. There's a whole wide number of people that are connected to this whole crew that are doing a whole bunch of crypto rug pulls and a whole bunch of crypto scams. And that's basically how they make a lot of their money, is through crypto scams. The administration is definitely part of it as well.
Eric Adams got a pardon from, although he's not going to skate. He got a pardon though from Trump, and meanwhile he's a Democrat. He's supposed to be on opposing sides from Trump. And what about that Haktua girl, man? Does her name come up in all your investigations? And her crypto bull?
Nothing that I've found so far. But
you got to work on that, man. That's the good stuff.
She ended her 15 minutes of fame by that rug pull.
Exit stage right, man. We put her $25 million. I wonder how much of that she got to keep, man. But God bless her. I'd say I got no complaints with what she did.
She probably would have made a whole lot more if she never did it, though. She'd probably still be talked about.
Yeah, I know, but come on, it's not cracked up to the constant grind of doing that, influencing stuff. It's
and meme coins in general. There's never really been a celebrity meme coin that's actually panned out that well. So knowing the market, it's kind of it's not a wise idea to invest in these celebrity meme coins.
What about Musk? He was pushing some meme coins there or some kind of crypto thing for a while there, right?
Yeah, he was pushing Doge, and then also every time he would make a tweet about anything, someone would create a meme coin about it. And for a while, all of those would go up for like a day or several hours, and then they'd get rug pulled. But there was a time when every time Elon tweeted on something, then there would be a token that took off on it, at least for a little while. But Elon's kind of lost his effect in that area. There haven't been any Elon-related tokens that have done really well in quite a while. But he also has never directly pushed a token other than Doge, which is kind of a meme coin, but it's a lot more established, or it's kind of like a hybrid between a meme coin and an altcoin.
Jeremy Ryan, how can people support you? If people hear this and they're disgusted, can they show up in court? What can they do? Can they send you a GoFundMe? What can people do to support? Retweet your stuff? What do you want people to do for you?
Yeah, I guess just probably just get the word out. And Facebook's probably the best place to follow me on, and that's on my link tree. We can't say the name of the Facebook because my middle name isn't allowed on radio.
Yeah.
But
it's Jeremy, no F word, with an S, Ryan.
And that's actually my middle name too. In the criminal complaint, they make a big deal about it. They're this is his name, and that means he has no deference to human life, and they're like really going crazy about my middle name in the criminal complaint. Gotta give me a break, guys. But,
Well, you got no shortage of enemies. That's a good thing, man. How can people support you then? They're going to retweet this or share this Facebook page. I'm going to add you as a friend right now, which is going to get you even more heat on you, but okay. Okay. Jeremy, no F's, Ryan on Facebook. I'm a friend of his in a minute.
Yeah, because most of my social media is like my Instagram.
Yeah.
And my main Twitter, I can't actually access right now and I'm in a lawsuit with Google. And Google is actually weaponizing this case against me. And so this is the crazy thing. So Google says that you can use a recovery email. Back during the terrorism charge, I lost my email because I got locked out of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a recovery email set up. Now, this time, what I did is I made sure I had a recovery email set up. Because Google documentation says that you can, with an account, have a recovery email set. You use a recovery email. I get out, and they won't let me use my recovery email to get into my account. And that has my two-factor authentication for the Twitter and the Instagram. I was only able to get into Facebook because they have a secondary thing where you can send your picture and ID, and they'll verify you. And so I was able to get into that. But I'm in the lawsuit with Twitter, and Twitter is actually using this case against me. They're saying that because the FBI took my phones, they do not have to follow California contract law. And they can actually violate California law because the FBI was the ones who took my phones, not them.
Who's funding all this litigation?
I'm doing it pro se.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And actually, the Google case would be interesting. One thing, actually, if someone wants to, go down the Google legal rabbit hole and see some of my legal filings, Santa Clara County Court, just Google search Santa Clara County Court Access. All of the filings, it's actually unique to them because usually it costs money to download the filings.
Yeah.
Santa Clara, you can see the full filings, download the whole full filings, everything for free. So if you just put Jeremy Ryan in the case search, you'll see Jeremy Ryan versus Google LLC, and you can actually see everything and download it for free. You don't have to pay like $3 per filing or 10 cents per page like you normally do. That's unique to Santa Clara County. I haven't seen another county like that.
Florida's like that too. Florida's open sunshine law. Yeah, pretty much everything there. But now, what about though? I'm concerned now. Your criminal case here too. You're doing pro se?
No, my criminal. I have a lawyer, and he's I had a public defender for a little while, but things just weren't getting done. We had a lot of disagreements over how things should get done, and he didn't have the bandwidth to really keep up with me.
Sure.
And so he withdrew, and then last month a private attorney was appointed. So now I have a private attorney on it. He's actually doing pretty good from what I can see so far. But it takes a little while to get caught up, and it takes a little while to, get into things. And plus, it's hard to get conditions re-looked at when you're in a correctional institution.
Right.
So once I get my own place, then we can re-look at the conditions and hopefully get things loosened up until trial, if it even goes to trial. I don't know. It might not even go to trial.
Yeah, I could see like a public defender would see this and say, "Oh, cyber stalking. I will plead this out one day." Like this is one conversation, and then they meet Jeremy Ryan. It's like a whole other story. We got these other guys on the other side. But it seems to me that that you would think that people with this kind of money, because I know the name, these are guys with big money, that they would be concerned of a civil suit from you.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is already a civil suit in regards to the financing deal. There's a suit in Delaware,
right?
Where I'm suing them over the scam and non-disclosure because they used the sham crypto to build a digital asset treasury and buy out a public company that was struggling. And so I bought stock in that company and then issued a shareholder lawsuit. So there isn't actually one lawsuit. Other lawsuits, it's going to be kind of difficult because of my public stature. There's the public figure exemption, and it's really hard for things like libel and slander if you have
I understand that. Record. But there's all kinds of overhead. We'll get into this off the air. The thing is, but that other civil suit, you're doing that yourself too, right? That's pro se.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of money on this other side here. Let's see what's going on there.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of. I've got a decent number of civil lawsuits. I got one against Crypto.com. That one is going for a hearing to determine whether it committed fraud on the court in August 28th. And then I have a case against Twitter in the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit just put it in the pro bono program. So what that means is that they found my briefing to be so compelling that less than 1%, like far less than 1% of people pro se get in the pro bono program for civil. Criminal, you have a right to an attorney. Civil, you don't.
Right.
And so it's like way less than 1% in the Ninth Circuit. And they decided that my briefing was compelling enough that they wanted it to be done in oral argument by a prestigious attorney. So they were putting me in the pro bono program. So that tells you the level of competency my briefings have. And, you know, I've just like, I'm suing the government for,
no, you're kicking
numerous
ass, man. I take my hat off. You're doing a great job here, bro. Okay, especially when you think of the physical limitations, the health limitations, and then your physical limitations. They keep you in a dungeon. Now, a couple of quick questions. First of all, how much time have you spent in custody on these charges?
Let's see. Well, I first got arrested, and I was at MCC for about a month and a half.
Okay.
And then I almost died. I literally was in front of the judge, like practically dead, and the judge said, "You're not going to be able to survive if I keep you in here, so I'm going to let you out on home confinement so you can get medical care you need." And so then I went back to the house. That was probably like late February, and then late March is when I got sent over here. Probably about 4 or 5 months in a correctional facility of some sort.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So about 6 months in physical custody and about another, 4 or 5 months in home custody?
Yeah.
Now, are they offering you a deal? They must be offering you a deal. Basically, time served they must be offering you now, right?
No, they haven't offered me anything.
Really?
Well, the first prosecutor that had it went on maternity leave, and now the case keeps getting passed around the office like a hot potato.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's Gregory Kehoe, the head U.S. attorney for that district. He's the one that these people are calling because he's the one that Pam Bondi appointed, and so you know these people with their circles have access to him. That's why it started out here, federal.
Yeah.
And so none of these prosecutors actually want to be prosecuting it, but they don't have a choice because their boss is telling them they have to.
And also, too, the more they pass it around, like you said, the longer you're sitting there, you know?
Yeah, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. But, you know, they don't have a choice when their boss says you have to do it.
And that's why they're not offering you a deal either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely political power and influence being used against you here. We are out of time, though, my friend. But listen, I want you to keep in touch, okay?
Yeah, we'll do.
No, I'm serious, man. Anything that comes up, whatever, you know, you come on the air, I'll put you right on the air, okay? Your lawyer wants to come on the air with me, anything you want to do. We're talking to Jeremy Ryan. More people should know about this. More people should know about this. When you hear these names, I'm going to give the names after the interview's over. You'll understand why this is so important. But otherwise, check out Mr. Ryan's Facebook, which is Jeremy, no F's, with the actual word, Ryan. His Twitter is NFT Demon Parody is one of the big ones. That's the big one. Then the other one is, he's got a bunch of them. And his Instagram is, look at this, got his dog on there. Who's taking care of your dog while you're in there?
I have some people that are taking care of him, and I'll be able to get him back once I get out. I'm covering the expenses, but they're taking good care of him. So
NFT Demon 420 on Instagram, and that has the link tree too. So that's probably the best one. Go to NFT Demon 420, and that has a link tree to all the other stuff. And all you guys out there that are animal activists that love to donate for dogs and stuff like that, reunite Mr. Jeremy Ryan with his dog, okay? Make the effort to support his work here, and we're going to have a GoFundMe up there too for him too shortly too as well. Jeremy, thank you so much, man, okay?
No problem. Thank you. Have a good one.
No, you too, man. Good luck in there, right? Good night.
Thanks.